women in Canada. So this was the question. Health Canada, what was your scientific basis for claiming the safety of these shots in pregnant and lactating women? The response was utterly shocking, and I'm going to show it to you so you can see with your own eyes, because I could not believe it when I saw it. But remember, now Health Canada, who's been sitting on this, they're being asked directly, what was the basis for you recommending this and saying it was safe in women who were pregnant and breastfeeding? So we're talking about some of our most precious children here. We're talking about our unborn children, and we're talking about infants, newborns. And I want to show you why this is important. Because where I live in Ontario, at that time, our Ontario's Minister of Health was Christine Elliott. She stood up, and I've got a link to a video here, so anybody can click on that link, and you can see with your own eyes and listen with your own ears, her standing up in our parliament. But I've taken the quotation here, and I quote, and she's referring to these COVID-19 shots, but it's also safe. It has been tested. We're recommending that women who are pregnant do receive the vaccine. It has been accepted by Health Canada. I want you to note, she has leaned on Health Canada, saying Health Canada has accepted it for this purpose. Women who are pregnant, it is entirely safe and recommended for them to receive the vaccine. That was the public messaging everywhere around the world, all across Canada. But so I wanted you to see that coming from a key government official, a Minister of Health. Now, look with your own eyes at the joint response from both Health Canada and the Public Health Agency of Canada when they finally felt the weight of parliamentary liability. What did they have to say? As indicated in the specific product monographs, those are the instruction sheets that come with any medical product. So in this case, the vaccines. It is noted that the safety and efficacy of these vaccines in pregnant women have not yet been established. Did you hear that? Have not yet been established. No indication for use in pregnant or lactating women was sought by the vaccine sponsors. Pfizer and Moderna weren't even asking for these shots to be authorized for use in pregnant and lactating women. Remember, this response isn't outdated. This didn't come early in 2021. This is the response that was published in December of 2023, well after we did this to pregnant and lactating women. They didn't even seek an indication for use in pregnant and lactating women. And then they say, or authorized by Health Canada. And if people don't want to hear that second way, they had the second statement to reiterate that. Health Canada has not approved any safety claims with regard to pregnant and lactating women.
It's an amazing thing watching this. This is the national citizens inquiry going on in Canada. I don't know. They're still going on. They're doing not I say a tour, but they're doing now continued inquiries. It's not a government inquiry because Lord knows the government doesn't investigate itself. And that's Dr. Bridle. And just so everybody understands, he has he mentioned in his intro that he's got Tourette's syndrome, so he's got a tick where you hear him breathing. It's not he's not sneezing or anything. It's he's has had Tourette's syndrome his whole life, and he's testifying about what Health Canada knew when they were saying things that contradicted what they knew but had not yet been disclosed to the world. And, we were talking about it at the time. It's like, Chet Chisholm, sends me the link. He's a member of our community, become a friend, and sends me these links as they come through. And I listen to this, and he says, listen to Dr. Bridle's testimony. And I'm listening to this, and I'm like, yeah, we ever since we got the Pfizer contracts released through, I should not put me in that. That's not stolen FOIA valor. Ever since the contracts, the Pfizer contracts were disclosed, I think South Africa, Australia, we had confirmation about what we already strongly suspected, that these mother effers, I'm not going to swear this episode, but whenever I say the mother effers, you know which word I'm thinking about, that these mother effers knew they were lying, or another form of lie, they knew that they had no reason to be saying what they were saying as they were saying it. And I was just trying to go back and pull up some tweets, just to not pat myself on the back, but make it clear that this is not now like a lo and behold discovery. This was coming out piecemeal as it was going along. Let me see here. This was the Albania. We got a bunch of these contracts. These were the manufacturer and supply agreements with Pfizer between a bunch of countries. And I don't want to say something that's factually incorrect, lest Daniel Dale be fact checking me. Oh, Viva, that wasn't the Albanian supply agreement. That was the Australian. but I think we got a bunch of these supply agreements over the course of time. And we read through them with great interest at the time. I couldn't find my exact tweets from the time, but I know that I highlighted specific sections. One of the sections was here. You got manufacturer and supply agreement by and among Pfizer, Export, BV, and Albania Ministry of Health and Social Protection. This was when we realized that Canada's contract with Pfizer, South Africa's, Albania presumably as well, the ones where we were able to, the internet at large were able to procure the contracts of their copies of their contracts. It became clear that a lot of these countries didn't have immunity via a legislative equivalent of the PrEP Act like in the United States. They had hold harmless clauses. In these contracts, you see it says the government agrees to hold harmless Pfizer in the event of whatever. But I think it was not currently known is the word I'm going to be looking for. Here we go. It was roughly the same provision in each contract. The purchaser acknowledgement. Now, this one says go, and I don't know if this was a draft. Let me see here. I think this one is a final version. Let's just see if it's signed at the end here. No, I'm not sure that it's signed. Doesn't matter. This was virtually the same contract with Australia, South Africa, we presume Canada, because the Canadian version that was released, I believe, was redacted. But this was the final version that was signed among these countries. And while the government was saying safe and effective for pregnant and lactating women, they had no reason to say what they were saying was true. And much more sinister, they knew that what they were saying was untrue. Listen to this. Purchaser acknowledgement. This will be repetitive for anybody who's been around the channel for a while. This is in the contract. Pfizer agrees to supply this, whatever the hell they're supplying. But they want, the government to know this. But the government wasn't telling this to the people as they were jabbing this in their arms and ramming it down their throats and up their butts and wherever the hell else they could get it. Purchaser acknowledges that the vaccine and materials related to the vaccine, capital V vaccine, by the way, because it's a defined term because they had to redefine the term, quote, vaccine, when they amended whatever the law is there, because this vaccine in a normal run of the world would not be called a vaccine. It would be what Dr. Kieran Moore out of Ontario called it, a therapeutic, since it doesn't actually prevent contracting or transmitting the virus. Purchaser acknowledges that the vaccine and materials related to the vaccine and their components and constituent materials are being rapidly developed due to the emergency circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic and will continue to be studied after provision of the vaccine to purchaser under the agreement. They're going to continue doing data collecting. They're going to continue doing research after it's been delivered to the purchaser, the government, and rammed into the arms of the citizen. Do you know what that's called? Obama called it what it is: real-time human experimentation. You know who else did that? I'll give you a hint. The people doing it are the ones accusing the Trumpians of holding a Hitler rally in Madison Square Gardens. We'll get there too. Listen to this. Purchaser further acknowledges that the long-term effects and efficacy of the vaccine are not currently known, and that there may be adverse effects of the vaccine that are not currently known. Further, to the extent applicable, the purchaser acknowledges that the product shall not be serialized. And we had our hypothesizing as to why that was the case. So while they're telling you it's safe and effective for pregnant women and lactating women, in their purchase agreement, they are basically saying, we don't know what the hell this is going to do. We're going to continue studying it. While they're telling us that it prevents transmission, only to afterwards admit to us that they never even tested for transmission because they were moving at the speed of science. And I remember making hay of this at the time. Is it this one? It's not this one. It was in the UK. They were simultaneously saying it's safe and effective for breastfeeding women, while also simultaneously saying we don't have enough data to actually say why we believe that. Let me see here. Let me just pull this up. It's somewhere in here. I need to get alphabetical order would be great. All right, hold on. We're coming. No. Did I bring it up? I know I have the tweet. Here we go. This was in out of the UK. Toxicity conclusions. Women who are breastfeeding should also not be vaccinated. These judgments reflect the absence of data at the present time and do not reflect a finding of concern. Oh, no, there's no finding of concern. There's just an absence of data. And when were they saying this? This was in August 2022. Updated. They were continuing to say in the UK that it's safe for pregnant women and children, lactating women, when in the in fine, in their own reports, they were saying, we don't know, absence of data, but go ahead and take it. And in the States, we'll immunize the companies, and in Canada, we'll hold them harmless. And if you get paid out for a vaccine injury, you're one of the lucky ones. You're just better off not getting vaccine injured in Quebec, because for whatever the reason, they haven't paid out any vaccine injuries yet. Starting off quiet, starting off slowly, trying not to rage and trying not to get the blood pressure up. But you go listen to Dr. Bridle's testimony, and what is abundantly clear, and when I say jokingly on the internet, someone said, if Trump gets elected, what are we going to talk about for the next 4 years? And I was like, easy. Prosecuting Fauci, prosecuting Bourla, prosecuting every one of the monsters who had a hand in developing this human experimentation and pushing it in real time while censoring information online that would have and saved lives, the censorship of which, in fact, cost lives. They censored, and people died and got injured because of their censorship. Can't have people sharing their actual vaccine injury stories, because that might create vaccine hesitancy. And God forbid there should be any hesitancy in taking a science that is a new technology that had Dr. Bridle's testimony, where he talks about how, he assumed when they came out and said it's safe and effective that they had gotten around whatever bugs, pun intended, had affected mRNA technology for a delivery mechanism of a vaccine or any form of medical technology. He assumed they got around it. And then he discovered they didn't get around any of the historical problems with this delivery mechanism. We were all experimented on, and everybody should be. If you're not mad as hell, I don't know. Maybe you're into being used and abused and treated like a lab rat. I'm personally not, and I'm mad as hell. Whew. Now we must go to the phone case of serenity. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Good afternoon, everybody. I go to bed last night and I say, okay, well, are we going to have what to talk about between our Sunday night law extravaganza and a Monday 12:30 show? And lo and behold, we do. We have the Dr. Bridle testimony. You should go listen to it. It's on the National Citizens Inquiry on Rumble, and they are going day by day. It's hours and hours. It's 12 hours a day, basically. It's wild. And then the meltdown that is causing. I mean, I don't like using the Democrat liberal tears, or the go cry harder. I don't like those stupid tropes like on the internet, cry harder. It's a stupid, empty, meaningless thing to say, unless people are actually crying. Now, in fairness, people are not actually crying, but they are throwing conniption fits of the highest order on the internet over a joke. Like, hey, we'll get there. But before we get there, I'd like to thank the two sponsors of today's show. Hold on, my dog. Oh my gosh. Get in, let's go. Get in. Okay. And she's gonna bark to get out in 2 minutes. Oi! Want to thank the sponsors of today's show. The sponsors of today's show, people. Speaking of crying, there's nothing wrong with crying. Even men cry every now and again. In fact, some people might say the harder you cry, the more of a man you are. I am joking. These days, it seems like society wants to turn men into soft tofu-eating cuddle machines. Testosterone levels are tanking, and the world is pushing this weak, hand-holding agenda. But if you're the kind of guy who'd rather wrestle a bear than sip a soy latte, you need naked organs. This isn't some lab-made potion from the land of unicorns. It's 100% pure bison organs, liver, kidney, heart, the stuff that put hair on your granddaddy's chest, packed with B12, iron, zinc. It's your antidote to low T and all the nonsense out there. Keep your testosterone high and your masculinity unapologetic, which means not getting offended at jokes, people. Head over to benaked.com. Use promo code VIVA for 15% off. It's a supplement. It's amazing. It has all the power of the organs of bisons put into a little capsule. benaked.com, promo code VIVA, 15% off, and let's make being a man great again. And our other one that'll put hair on your chest too, just for different reasons. Good coffee, people. $17.75, not just good coffee, great coffee. Did you know most creamers aren't even made with real cream or dairy? That's right. Your morning coffee is basically a swamp of oils, sugars, thickeners. I can't remember the name of the thickener that you get in those airports and hotels. The Coffee Mate. Read the ingredients of Coffee Mate, people. You will never use that stuff again unless it's pure necessity. There's enough chemicals to make the FDA blush. But 1775's coffee protein creamer, it's the stuff patriots choose. 10 grams of whey protein, no sugar, no fat, under 50 calories. It's straight up American fuel for those who want to crush their day, not their health. Fasting, building muscle, preparing for the globalist agenda. 1775's creamer has got your back, and if you're serious about coffee, their new pods deliver the same single origin, high altitude, delicious beans, plus their brain boosting mushroom blend. It'll leave you sharper than Donald Trump before destroying Joe Biden. Dark Brandon. Go to 1775coffee.com. Promo code VIVA gets you 15% off. Make your mornings as bold as your beliefs. The links are in the comment section. People, whatever the hell happened to Dark Brandon? Can you understand? The people, they've got no sense of humor, and we're going to get into this in a second, but whatever happened to Dark Brandon? They were running the meme that Dark Brandon, his stupid eyes glowing, they stole the Bitcoin reference thing. Dark Brandon was going to take down Donald Trump. And they convinced a slew of idiots that Joe Biden was sharp as a tack, cogent. He was cogent. And good enough for another 4 years and good enough to take down Trump. And they made fools out of every idiot on the internet who shared the Dark Brandon meme. And then Dark Brandon went dark. And then they had to swap him out for Kamala Harris, who I'm increasingly convinced really played some dirty, dirty politics to snatch that nomination that she never won, never was democratically attributed. And I do have also sneaking suspicion that people are playing sabotage with her, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Trump gave a rally yesterday at Madison Square Garden. Now, it's being called a Nazi Hitler fest because apparently back in 1939, and I don't, from what I understand, it actually wasn't the same Madison Square Gardens. It was another one up the street, but a rally was held, which was held by supporters of Nazis. And apparently this, for some, whatever the reason, is a throwback to Nazism. Let me see. Madison Square Gardens. Let me see. Events. I mean, it's so effing stupid because I don't understand the logic. Is every event now that has ever been held at Madison Square Gardens a Nazi event? I don't want to know that here. Let's see here. Let's see what other events here. You got Annie. Oh my goodness. Wait, hold on 1 second. We've got Annie at Madison Square Gardens. Oh, I didn't know that they were supporters of Hitler. Who else do we have? Buy tickets? No, thank you. Look at all the Westminster Nazi dog show at Madison Square Garden. I don't even understand what the logic is behind this, but they have to go with the full throttle. Trump is Hitler again with 1 week left of the election. Until the election. Can you believe it's going to be a week from tomorrow? They've gone full throttle with this, but and Tony Hinchcliffe, Hinchcliffe, Jesus Louis, now I'm getting a brain fart. Did a roast, and Tony is a stand-up comic and an edgy one at that. And Madison Square Garden, New York rally is epic Superman. This is from River One. Ex-medic says they think calling Trump supporters Nazis is a winning slogan. I mean, it's so dumb. It's just beyond words. You had 70,000 people there. From what I understood, there were like however many tens of thousands in the stadium, tens of thousands outside the stadium, and then I don't know, millions watching. And they think the winning strategy is to say everybody who has anything to do with that, including the founder of Death Row Records, who's black, are Nazis, Nazi adjacent, Nazi supporters, they are absolute idiots. And you knew what they were going to do because this is what they do. Tony Hinchcliffe, geez Louise, it's going to drive me crazy if I don't remember. Hold on a second. This is crazy. I feel total Tony Hinchcliffe. I'm such an idiot. Tony Hinchcliffe does a saucy, edgy intro. And if you haven't heard it, well, let's actually find the Hinchcliffe. I should have had his intro up. people are well, not when they say like, oh, who do you think? If I had to pick a blue check mark, unhinged, deranged lunatic who's going to feign outrage, who would be your first guess? I won't leave you in suspense for too long. It's Billy Baldwin. We're going to go to Billy Baldwin. Billy Baldwin writes. I'm just going to play it. I'm going to play it and not miss.
All right. Heck yeah. It's a cool black guy with a thing on his head. What the hell is that? A lampshade? Look at this guy. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm just kidding. That's one of my buddies. He had a Halloween party last night. We had fun. We carved watermelons together. It was awesome. Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this.
Tough crowd.
It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country.
For those of you who, and you got it here, check out the meltdown. Two things. If you still support Trump, you're a racist piece of shit. This guy may not get out of New York alive. And that is an outright call to violence. But let's set that aside. You know, it's not like New York City is not known for stand-up comedy and edgy stand-up comedy, Rogan stand-up comedy, Tyler Fisher stand-up comedy, who's coming on the show tomorrow. That's actually I didn't pick that up the first time. This guy might not get out of New York alive. Do you know what that is a call to do? That is a call to say, go to the Cellar, go to Comedy Club, go to what's the one on the Upper East Side, and do something bad to this man because he made jokes that you don't like. Now, two things, by the way. There's two reflections on this. On the one hand, people are like, his comedy was so bad, even the audience was going, ooh, ooh, which is a pretty good indication you're not dealing with a racist audience. Now, edgy humor, by definition, needs to be edgy. Otherwise, it's not really edgy humor. And if humor is not somewhat edgy, it's not funny. But you knew whatever happened that they were going to do something like this. It was Posobiec who put this out. And people need to fully understand this. People need to understand this. Jack Posobiec. Amazing to see how many soft conservatives don't get how this works yet. If Kill Tony hadn't been there, the media left would have found something else to gripe on. They're always going to. This is what they do. And I have now understood this in ways that I could never have understood this a decade ago. People say Trump is the most divisive president ever. People say that Trump is, AOC put out a tweet and says, I can't deal with another 4 years of Trump in presidency because it was so bad. Trump was never the problem. The problem was the media was going to do it to whomever the Republican nominee was. They were going to do it with anybody and anything. They were going to make it 4 years of living hell so they could then say, look how bad this guy's made it. Just let us win and it'll go back to normal again. Go back to a normal that they are the ones who are responsible for destroying in the first place. It's ideological terrorism. It's not, actual terrorism. There's sometimes violence, but what this is ideological terrorism in that they're going to harass, harangue day in and day out and make everyone's life a living hell and then blame the object of their harassment for their harassment. And then say, look, so just don't vote this guy back in and things go back to normal, i.e. we stop being the harassers that we've been for the last 4 years. If you had any lingering doubt, I'm old enough to remember, not Donald Trump, George Bush was called a racist, Hitler adjacent. I'm not old enough to remember Ronald Reagan, but they said the same things of Ronald Reagan. Stupid, racist. Hollywood had no business in politics. They questioned his intellectual acumen. They called him stupid. They called George W. Bush stupid. Had it been, I don't know who would have been one of the other people in 2016, they would have done the same thing with them. And if you had any doubts, do you all remember, like, relatively recently, when some people thought that DeSantis was going to take out Trump in the primaries? Remember what they did with DeSantis? No one is more dangerous for the White House than Ron DeSantis, including Donald Trump. This is from May 17, 2023. The Florida governor is more informed, tactical, and calculated, which makes him way more dangerous. They will do it with anybody. They will do it with anyone and anything. It could be a turnip. And they would say that this turnip is the most racist, dangerous turnip on earth. DeSantis, that was just one. But they've been just like, because I've lived through this one now. Yeah, look at this. When they thought it was close, when was this one from? Yeah, March 2023. I'm not going to subscribe. Call him. Who's more dangerous, Trump or DeSantis? And then DeSantis is out and they're like, oh, well, Trump is the most dangerous. Now we got to go do everything and call him a Nazi. Had DeSantis been there right now? Had it been Nikki Haley right now, they would be calling her more dangerous than Trump because she's got ties to the military-industrial complex. Oh, and she's a woman. She thinks she can get away with things, and she's going to be even more dangerous than Orange Man Bad Hitler. So whomever is going to do it, they would have done it. Whatever happened last night, they were going to do it. But them jokes were edgy. What did he say? So he's getting in trouble. The big one that he's getting in trouble for is the Puerto Rico joke. First of all, he has kind of a Jim Gaffigan delivery, but he made a joke about Puerto Rico. Did you know there's a big island of garbage? Hinchcliffe. Let's just get the actual joke so that he says it and I don't. And you're gonna have people fact check true. Here, listen. I'm not saying it, people. I have a dirty sense of humor. I like crude, crass humor. I like crass movies. I'm very juvenile, immature, and I find stand-up comedy hilarious when it's good. And in order for it to be good, it's got to be kind of not, I don't know.
A lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. A lot going on. Like, I don't
Well, if they had the one that had the 4 more seconds, or the other clips, if you could see it in context, people in the audience like, ugh. And then you had some Puerto Rican Americans in the audience saying, yeah, look, I don't like the joke, but that's it. I'm moving on with my day. The only people who aren't moving on with their day are the virtue signaling, faux outrage, humorless, angry, joyful warriors on the Democrat side. First things first, by the way, just so everybody understands, like, jokes are only funny if there's an element of truth to them. And so everybody feigning outrage at this joke, how dare he? First of all, you dumb bums. He's not talking about Puerto Ricans. He's talking about Puerto Rico. He's talking about a territory, not a people. He's talking about a government, not a people, not a race. When people call Chicago a shithole, I mean, some might be talking race, but I think most people are talking poor governments, corruption, and crime. When people call LA a shithole, they're talking about LA and not Los Angeles Americans, although there might be an argument that big city people have a certain ideology, philosophy, and they might be commentating on them politically. But the bottom line is, when he says, yeah, it's, certain places are shitholes, it's a commentary on government. It's a commentary on cleanup. It's a commentary on social issues and not on people. And when someone says, if there's no truth to an accusation, A, it's not funny, and B, it's not insulting. Someone sits here and says, Viva Fry is the fattest guy I've ever known. Oh, okay. Viva Fry is so tall, he can slam dunk on a... I mean, if there's no truth to a joke, if there's no truth to an accusation, A, it's not funny, and B, it's not insulting. So the fact that people are feigning outrage means that some people might understand that there is a little bit of truth to this. And by a little bit of truth, I mean a lot of truth to there being issues in Puerto Rico. Now, in terms of waste management, let's take one here. This was after Maria. Puerto Rico struggles under the weight of its own garbage. This is from 2017. Now, it's true that this was the result of a natural disaster, which some people argue had a lackluster response to. Some people try to blame it on Trump. I'm old enough to remember that there was serious, wild corruption in Puerto Rico, and some argued that there was corruption in the response so that they could try to pin it on Donald Trump and demonize him for what was then weaponized as the suffering of the Puerto Rican people. No, thank you. Outside Puerto Rico, this is a long time ago, but a mountain of debris. Okay, fine, that's one, but that's old. I think there were more recent articles. Hold on. Well, I can't find the new article. Yeah, there was another article. There's an element of truth in that there is certain problems in terms of waste management in Puerto Rico. To get out there and say that it's a racist comment on Puerto Rican people is the utmost of stupidity, but you'd expect nothing less from the people feigning outrage. And let's go through them, shall we? Let's start with Don Lemon. I love this. It's just incredible. This is the one that's going to end the Trump campaign. A Tony Hinchcliffe killed Tony saucy joke at a rally. This is the one that's going to end the Trump campaign a week out. And bear in mind, by the way, like Tony is good friends with Rogan, good friends with Dana. There's an environment, and especially coming out of New York, that actually likes stand-up comedy and actually wants comedy to be funny again. Look at Don Lemon. He's got his serious face on. What happened, Don?
You want to see the October surprise?
Oh, yeah.
That just might kill Donald Trump's chances of becoming president?
I mean, can we now all agree? I think we already do. Don Lemon, A, is an idiot, looks very tired, haggard, and unhappy, and looks like he doesn't even believe the verbal diarrhea that's coming out of his mouth. Listen to this.
You want to see the October surprise? That just might kill Donald Trump's chances of becoming president?
He's done. They've got him. The walls
This
are closing
one
in.
stupid, racist joke. Watch.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
It wasn't funny, and it was bad, and the campaign knew it, and they released a statement almost immediately trying to distance Donald Trump from the comedian and that joke.
I couldn't find that statement. I'm still looking for it, but I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just couldn't find it. What I saw was Don Jr. retweeting Tony Hinchcliffe saying, "Take a freaking joke and tampon Tim, pull that tampon out of your butt." That's what I saw.
But not before some really high-profile stars started reposting videos of Kamala Harris's support of Puerto Rico, like Bad Bunny, J-Lo, and Ricky Martin. They have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of loyal fans. That comedian, Kill Tony, may have just killed Donald Trump's chances of becoming president with one racist joke.
It's funny. It's an amazing thing that the people who are crying racism are the ones who immediately assume that they were talking about a people and not a government. Set that aside. All right, so that's Don Lemon. We'll see how his prediction pans out because he's an idiot. He mentioned a bunch of celebrities who are jumping ship. This is when you really have a lot of fun. I'm discovering new people. Apparently, there's someone called Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny just endorsed Kamala Harris. Drew Webb, don't know who the person is. Let's see here. Resistor, Trump for prison, LGBT, I stand with Ukraine, Connect Blue. 60,000 followers and 60,000 following. Harris for president. Okay. Putin plus Kim Jong-un equal evil. Republicans are evil. All right. Well, we've got an assessment there, but this is a matter of fact. Bad Bunny just endorsed Kamala. He was born in Puerto Rico. Trump is so done. What I love, we'll get into this in a second, who Bad Bunny is. What I love is when people say he was born in Puerto Rico. If he doesn't live in Puerto Rico anymore, that might be the more salient fact. When they say, oh my goodness, John Legend comes out and talks about how beautiful Springfield is from his California mansion. When you grow up from a place or are born in a place that you no longer live in, you might want to ask yourself the question, why would this person who now has all the means in the world choose not to live where they were born? Eminem, in fairness to him, good for him. He stayed in Michigan area, in Detroit area, but he sure as hell didn't stay where he was born. Bad Bunny. Okay, I have no idea who it is, but there's a lot of people I don't know, but I went and looked up Bad Bunny. Who is Bad Bunny? Hold on. Who's Bad Bunny? Well, this is one picture of Bad Bunny. It's awesome, very artistic. Looks okay. That's one picture. This, I believe, is Bad Bunny. I mean, he's wearing a black turtle, whatever trench coat with rabbit ears. That's Bad Bunny. I guess he won a Grammy. And this is Bad Bunny. Okay, that's fine. But we're not making fun of people because they decide to dress funny. That's funny. Trump is so done. No. There's a little bit more to Bad Bunny that might be coming to the surface, or at least might explain why Bad Bunny is now on the Kamala Harris campaign. Is this the same Bad Bunny who was seen attending an after party hosted by Puff Daddy? It's an amazing thing. The internet is forever. And I tell you, all you have to do is go put in someone's name and scandal. When it's an artist, someone in the entertainment industry, just put in their name and Puff Daddy or P. Diddy or Sean Combs, whatever the hell you want to call him. This is off the Instagram page of Ola USA from May 2023. Ola USA, Bad Bunny and Kendall Jenner attend the after party hosted by Diddy and Doja Cat. Now, okay, that's one. Let me just see something here after this. Then we got another one. First of all, can we all appreciate, I'm a married man and I'm not appreciating it in the sense that you might think, what the hell is she wearing? Like, what is this? This looks like chainmail and she's got no bra underneath. All right, good for her. She's got a body. Like, things are where they're supposed to be. I wonder if Kendall, who's this Kendall Jenner? Let me just see something here. Kendall Jenner kids. Does she have kids? Kendall Jenner doesn't have any children. All right, good for her. So she's young and she's got a body of someone who hasn't had children. I'll tell you one thing. The only beauty that doesn't fade is the internal beauty. So hopefully she's got that somewhere behind her chainmail see-through dress. All right. Then we got another one here. This is Bad Bunny, Kendall Jenner. And another. There's just 3 pictures of them coming in there. I also love he's wearing crosses. Something tells me he might not be living a holy kosher life. So you put in Bad Bunny and P. Diddy, and you might find some. There's other rumors of a leaked audio and whatever, but I can only definitively and confidently and comfortably talk about what is indisputable. Her name is Kendall Jenner. Let me see here. P. Diddy. Let's do this. Actually, no, let's do this together, shall we? So there seems to be a P. Diddy connection. Now, Kendall Jenner, P. Diddy. Let's go down here. Kendall Jenner and Hailey Bieber dragged into the Diddy saga after a wild fan theory. Okay, that's not good enough. Okay, so it looks like, okay, well, not as good and not as definitive a connection as Bad Bunny, who's definitively at least connected to a Diddy-hosted after party. I'm sure it was the only one. I'm sure nothing untoward happened there, and I'm sure it's very convenient timing for him that he now gets to come out against Donald Trump because of a mean joke from Tony Hinchcliffe, a joke which many people might say is actually more accurate, but not a commentary on Puerto Ricans as a people, but rather the Puerto Rican territory as a governed body of land. But there's more. Kenny Akers, I think he's popping up on my feed now because I engage with him. He had to come and say, Tony Hinchcliffe at a Trump rally remarked, by the way, listen, this is how disinformation laundering goes. And this is how liars and scoundrels choose not to understand a joke when they want to pretend it wasn't a joke. He remarked that Puerto Rico is a floating island of garbage. Bad Bunny quickly responded to Tony Hinchcliffe's bigoted comment by endorsing Kamala Harris. I've repeated this time and time again. The presidential race will be about everyone against white bigotry. Death Row Records endorses Trump. Lee Greenwood, Tony Hinchcliffe set to perform. That's not the right one. Where's the Death Row Records? Death Row Records founder endorses Trump. I mean, like, oh yeah, no, it's about racist white people. And the founder of Death Row Records, Michael Harry O. Harris, one of the founders of the legendary hip-hop label Death Row Records, endorsed Donald Trump Monday, according to the Washington Post. Just in case you guys don't know who Michael Harris is, he went to jail for a long time for cocaine distribution. But if we just in case people want to see, he's gonna, now they're gonna call him the black face of white supremacy, the black face of Trump Nazism. Yeah, this is what Akers now is referring to as a racist. All the way back, Kenny Akers, white bigotry. He's the black face of white bigotry, the founder of Death Row Records, who comes out and endorses Donald Trump. And he spoke last night, from what I surmise. I haven't been able to capture that part. But yeah, no, that's it. We're not done yet, by the way. There's a couple more people who are just flipping their lids at this. You would expect nothing less from Letitia James, the most corrupt attorney general in New York, who apparently she's not content with destroying the New York economy by criminalizing business in New York. Now she wants to criminalize comedy in New York. Don't you dare come to New York and insult our Puerto Rican family Puerto Rico is one of the most beautiful places in the world, home to millions of Americans. We won't tolerate this vile and racist behavior. It's not what this country stands for. Leticia James and everyone else out there who's flipping a conniption fit because of a joke. First of all, we know that you know. Let me rephrase this. You know it's a joke. We know that you know it's a joke. You know that we know that you know it's just a joke. And yet you continue to pander to your base of smooth-brained idiots because this is all you have left at this stage. Keep it up, because I'm convinced that you actually think that you're swaying people with this, but you're idiots and scoundrels of the highest order. And everybody out there, oh yeah, it was a little edgy, maybe he shouldn't have said it. Had they had a moment of silence, they would have called it something. Had they prayed, they would have called it something. Do you appreciate that they being the media and the lying scoundrels out there, actually took snapshots of people with their hands up to the sky praying, arguing, claiming that they were engaged in Sieg Heil salutes? Do you remember when they did that? And you got to love Kenny Akers. He remarked about Puerto Rico. First of all, it's a joke and not a remark. It would be like, oh yes, Andrew Dice Clay remarked that Jack and Jill went up a hill, each with $1.25. Jill came down with $2.50, and Andrew Dice Clay remarked that she must have done something very interesting to get that $1.25 from Jack. Oh, remarked. Joke, people. It's like you go to a stand-up comedy show and you say, my goodness, the observations of that. He remarked many times how you're an idiot. You're an idiot, but everybody knows you're an idiot. You know you're an idiot. I know you're an idiot. You know that I know that you're an idiot. We all know that you know that I know that you know, and you keep it up nonetheless. So, bottom line, anybody feigning outrage about this can go suck the biggest of lemons out there. Suck on a lemon and go and cry harder with your friends and have a little powwow for the people of Puerto Rico who, my goodness, this is the worst thing ever. We got to criminalize stand-up comedy, criminalize speech, criminalize disinformation, misinformation. And that will be the only way that the Democrats can actually win an election. By silencing, censoring, jailing, and, every now and again trying to kill their political opponents. Oh my goodness, I've fallen quite behind here. Let's see what's going on. Roostang, Viva, what about the Tommy Robinson's recent arrest? Have you been in contact with him? Not since the most recent arrest. I mean, I saw someone telling Keir Starmer to go, not suck a lemon, but go F himself. I haven't, but I'll be in touch with, if I can get in touch with him, his team, or Rebel News usually has info on that, but I'm looking into that, Roosting. Sayoran555 over on Rumble says, hey Viva, went to the rally yesterday, most diverse Nazi rally I've ever been to. But if I were one of those, what were all the Israeli flags and minorities doing there? Very confusing. Well, thank you. Perfect segue into almost having forgotten this joke. He says, worst Nazi rally everywhere. This is coming from, the account is Ari Hoffman. Based on the name, I presume they're Jewish. He's Jewish. Does he? Jeez, I don't know if it's he or she. He doesn't have pronouns in his bio. The Ari Hoffman Show. Award-winning radio host. Zionist aggressor. That's going to piss people off. West Coast editor. The T-Post Millennial. Human events. Op-eds. Newsweek. All right. He writes, worst Nazi rally. This might trigger other people for different reasons. Am Yisrael Chai is the nation of Israel strong. This might trigger people for other reasons. But I made the joke like, oh, it's the elusive New York Jew Nazi. Very rarely seen in their natural environment. Look at them bouncing around. New Nazis of the future wear kippahs, people. Look at the, first of all, what I love. Set aside the whole Middle East conflict thing. I don't get into it. It's a never-ending conversation. The mixture between kippahs over here and MAGA hats in the back. I mean, worst Nazi rally ever. You know why? When your Nazi rally, your alleged Nazi rally, has Jews, blacks, Asians, Puerto Ricans, you might just want to take a step back and say, stop being such a dumbass. Maybe. And if you had parents who said to you as a child, stop being such a dumbass, maybe you would not have become such a dumbass of an adult. Thank you for reminding me about that. Sayoran555. Then we got Amonzine 512. Amonzine, which is that ingredient that goes into, what's it called? It's the stuff that tastes like almond paste. According to a study commissioned by FEMA and conducted by the EPA, Puerto Rico could run out of landfill space in 2 to 4 years. Yeah, I mean, first of all, it might be geographical, it might be corrupt government, but nobody, I should say almost nobody is suggesting Puerto Ricans are dirty as people. I mean, nobody's suggesting that, except actually, now that I say that, except maybe AOC. You have to hear this. I put together a supercut so that we don't have to listen to the full rubbish. Tim Walz has decided he's a gamer. This jackass has decided a week out of the election, he's going to go do a live stream. It looks like they're gaming, commentating on the Trump rally. But listen to what AOC says here.
Who is that jackwad? Who is that guy?
Actually,
Who is that jackwad coming out of the filthy, perverted mouth of a man who wants to become the next vice president and won't be one heartbeat away from the next president? This is the guy who called Elon Musk a dipshit. Who is that jackwad? First of all, the only context in which I've ever heard jackwad, not context that, well, maybe they are context in which, what's his face? Tim Walz is very familiar. But listen, who's that jackwad? Tim, it's not Hinchcliffe's fault that you're an idiot and you don't know about the biggest names in comedy. So who's that jackwad means you don't watch Joe Rogan, which might explain a few things. You don't know who Kill Tony is. And you're an idiot. Yeah. Who's that? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Who is that jackwad? Who is that guy?
actually, I think that's Tony Hinchcliffe, which is super disappointing. I mean,
It's Tony Hinchcliffe, which is super disappointing.
and he's a comedian. It's what they think about anyone who makes less money than them. It's what they think about the people who serve them food in a restaurant. It's what they think about the people who fold their clothes in a store. If you have someone that's not there to harvest the crops that show up in your grocery store.
Who is that jackwad? Who is?
Can you appreciate what AOC is saying? I mean, you can appreciate it because we've heard Osborne chick say the same thing. Mr. Trump, if you deport all the illegals, who's going to scrub your toilets? Oh, I didn't mean it like that, but yeah, I absolutely did. Whatever her first name is, Joel Osborne, literally said, if you deport immigrants, who's going to scrub your toilets? So in her mind, the utility of immigrants and illegal ones is to exploit them so they can do your dirty work. But don't worry, she's not the only one. Jerry Nadler said the exact same thing. I won't play the clip again. If we don't have the illegals, the crops are going to rot in the field. And here you have AOC, who claims to be Puerto Rican. I mean, I didn't know that. I thought she was South American. When she first started this clip, if I find the original clip, she says I'm Puerto Rican, and basically telling you that, her view of Puerto Ricans is, what did she say again?
Who is that jackwad? Who is that guy?
Actually, I think that's Tony Hinchcliffe, which is super
Jackwad.
disappointing. He's a comedian.
He's a
It's what they
comedian?
think about anyone
It's
who
what they
makes less
do.
money
They
than
make
them.
jokes.
It's what they think about the people who serve them food in a restaurant. It's what
So
they think about
they
the
serve
people who
This is Puerto
who
Ricans, according
fold
to
their
her.
clothes in a store.
fold clothes.
If you have
Oh, yeah.
someone that's not there to harvest the
And they
crops
harvest
that show
crops.
up in your grocery store.
Who is that jackwad? Who is that guy?
We don't
Actually, I
need to
think
hear it
that's
again.
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Good. Add it to the list now. So the Puerto Ricans, according to AOC, fold clothes, pick produce, and do the menial tasks. And it's the big bad Trump people who apparently don't appreciate them. Can you imagine? Also, they say the Trump team doesn't appreciate. I'm actually just going to call them the people who do these jobs hard. They have hard jobs. The Trump team doesn't respect them, except it's the Trump team who wants to have no tax on tips and make life easier for the hardest. I say not the hard. Everybody works hard, but working hard at certain types of demographics of jobs. Yeah, no, but it's the Trump team that has no respect for these illegals that the Democrats and the Uni Party, to some extent, want to facilitate migration for, so they can be exploited for menial, cheap labor for what they regard as menial tasks, unbecoming of Americans, I guess, is what they're getting at. Amandine, thank you very much for that. Denise Antu in the house says, David, watch at the 1:30 mark. Apparently, Harris supporter can make a racial joke. Oh, hold on a second. Denise Antu, thank you very much for reminding me about that one. Was it? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's George Lopez. I'm going to pretend that this was all queued up so that the chat would remind me of the bookmarks that I had here. This is it is George Lopez, right? Yeah, this is George Lopez. Now, I don't want to make a mistake. Who was it that was involved in? It was Carlos Mencina. Carlos Mencina stealing jokes. Yeah, accusing him of stealing jokes. Okay, it was Carlos Mencina. Does George Lopez have that? George Lopez stealing jokes. No, so all I see is George Lopez apparently attacked Carlos Mencina. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. We're not going to get too far into the weeds of drama. This is George Lopez at a Kamala Harris rally the day before. Is this right here? Yeah. Let's hear what he has to say.
Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall, and George Lopez said, you better build it in one day, because if you leave that material out there overnight. Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall.
Yeah, do people appreciate the joke there? I'm not sure if he meant, I'm not sure who he meant was going to steal those materials overnight. We do know that it's a bit of a problem. You don't leave tools out overnight because people steal them. It sounds like he's making a joke that if they're building the wall on the border of America and Mexico and they leave the materials out overnight, somebody, and I presume he's talking about Mexicans, would steal that material. Is this racist and bigoted, or is this just stand-up comedy on a podium at a campaign rally?
Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall, and George Lopez said, you better build it in one day, because if you leave that material out there overnight.
I mean, it's kind of a funny joke. And then he has to do the shtick like, oh yeah, that was too offensive for the crowd. Yeah, not only is it's only, I tell you, it's not about hierarchy. It's not about double standards. It's about lawlessness, because they want to be able to get away with what they would hold their adversaries' feet to the fire for having done. So you get George Lopez, and he makes it's a decent joke. Do I think that means that he's suggesting that all Mexicans are thieves, or that only Mexicans are thieves? No. I was thinking about this as I went for I went for a bike ride this morning, because my knee is now functional enough to go up and down bike riding, but by no means able to take lateral pressure. And going back to, stereotypes, if they're totally outlandish and have no basis in fact or history, they're just not funny. And so, the idea of saying, I'm going to get into trouble here. It's one of the funnier jokes that I always love is, how was copper wire invented? A Jew and a Scotsman fighting over a penny. And I love the visual that you have. I did not know that Scotsmen had a reputation for being stingy or cheap. I knew of the stereotype of Jewish people being stingy or cheap or good with money, whatever, because it's one of the stereotypes. And as a member of that community, I grew up with these jokes, and I grew up making these jokes because, I grew up also in a time when you could make these freaking jokes. I grew up, my mother had every volume of Blanche Knott's dirty jokes. I got all the dirty jokes on earth in my memory bank. I never knew that Scots had a reputation for being cheap, but the bottom line is every culture on earth, or at least there are multiple cultures on earth that have a stereotype for being cheap. From what I understand also, there's the same stereotype applies to a demographic of the Chinese population. But the idea of a Jewish person and a Scotsman, each fighting over a penny, they're pulling so hard that they pull it into a long thing of copper wire. I always found that visually hilarious. But if there is no truth to the stereotype, then it's just not funny. And so I guess what Lopez is talking about there, and he says, invoking his own experience, they want to be able to do it. They want to be able to entertain, and they want to be able to criminalize their ideological adversaries for doing the exact same kind of entertaining. Both are fine, neither are fine. And if you can't take a freaking joke, go back to your room and have mama and papa tell you that everything's going to be fine and give you a participation trophy for having left the house. Denise Antu, David, we are gaining more former Dems. Who's this? Of course, I say, of course, who the hell wants to be on that team? That I was watching that rally last night, and we get out of our Sunday show, and I start watching it. And first of all, you realize that Trump is the unifier. And I was going to make a joke, you know, in a way, I guess it's Kamala Harris that's actually the unifier because she's unifying everybody with Trump. Because who the hell wants to be on that awful, disgusting team? And like, I've been saying naughty words on Twitter, and I don't give a crap anymore. They're literally the team of degenerate, awful, evil people. And I don't use that word lightly. Doug Emhoff had sexual intercourse with his nanny in a prior marriage and got his nanny pregnant. Set aside how that pregnancy ended. This is the guy that I'm going to take any form of advice from in life. And then, by the way, I don't know who she is. I know I looked up her name. She was a performer, I think. Like, for a second, when I first saw that picture, I'm like, oh, that she looks, Kamala looks pretty, you know, younger in that picture. I was like, oh, wait, that's not Kamala. Oh, wait, that's not how you touch someone's hand who's not your spouse. And I'm not a prude, and I'm not holier than thou. There's in certain religions, and Mike Pence, you know, had the same maxim. You don't have dinner alone with a woman. You don't do it, A, because temptation, and B, it'll keep you out of a lot of trouble in life. That's not how you hold someone's hand who's not your wife, people. But Doug Emhoff wouldn't do that again. No. I mean, once a scoundrel who has sexual intercourse with a nanny, your kid's nanny, and gets her pregnant, you'd never do that again. But no, he's Team Kamala. You got Dick Cheney, the war criminal, Liz Cheney, the traitor. Now you got Bad Bunny, Diddy after party dude on Team Kamala. Who the hell would want to be on that team? Oh, hold on. There was one more guy that you got on that team. Oh, Cranston, what did you do? Why did you have to do it? I am the one who... I'm going to have to go take our mat away. I have a mat in the front of our house, and it says, I am the one who knocks.
I am the one who knocks.
On the door at a Diddy party afterwards. I would be very shocked if I found out that Bryan Cranston was at a Diddy party. But if he had to appear next to the other biggest piece of shit on the face of the planet, there's so many of them. Who do you think it's going to be? Some of you might have already seen this. You might have already caught the aura of Schiff for brains, pencil neck, buggy-eyed, evil demon Schiff.
I am the one who knocks. on doors, here in Nevada, for Jackie Rosen, for Kamala Harris, for the whole Democratic ticket. We've only got 10 days to go. We need your help. Contribute, help us, go knocking on doors.
Look at Schiff's face.
A new beginning. We're not going back. 10 days, let's do it.
I
am the one who knocks.
So authentic. Look at Cranston. He points like, "Hey, who's this guy over here?"
On doors here in Nevada.
Oh, that's so. You're lucky. You're lucky, Cranston. And I said this at the time before I knew that I hated him politically. I'm sure he's a decent guy in real life, maybe, possibly. Although now I have to think that he's a pedophile. I'm saying that almost as a joke, but everyone coming out of Hollywood who hasn't left Hollywood willingly, you suspect. But I said this before I realized he's a total idiot. Like, what does, and I didn't mean it as a dig or an insult, but like, what does it feel like to realize that you've accomplished the greatest achievement of your life? Definitively. Like some people, in retrospect, I might say, oh, my greatest accomplishment in life was the squirrel stealing a GoPro. Because in as much as a great accomplishment that was at the time, I still have time to outdo that accomplishment. It's probably safe to say that Michael Hull will never do anything greater than Dexter, and not in a bad way. It was a singular work of art. A work of art is actually a funny Freudian slip. And Bryan Cranston will never do anything greater than Breaking Bad. That was a work of art of a series. And I guess this is like part of the downfall. You've reached the summit of your life. Chumbawamba. Get knocked down. Did they ever think that was going to be the summit of their musical career? No, probably not. But we know, Cranston knows he will never achieve greatness again, comparable to what he did on Breaking Bad. And now this is his life. He's going with Team War Criminal and Team Diddy.
For Jackie Rosen, for Kamala Harris, for the whole Democratic ticket. We've only got 10 days to go. We need your help. Contribute, help us, go knocking on doors, and we can have...
He's a good-looking guy. And now I look at Cranston's face, and I think he has to smell bad in real life. Okay. Denise Antu, thank you very much for the reminder there. And so Audrey, I'm going to see who they're going to check this one. We got a speech from, do we want to watch this? I'll save this one for the locals after party. This is a lifelong Democrat elected to the DNC twice, Audrey J. McNeil. We're going to watch this over in locals. What else? Oh no, I still have stuff here, people. Okay. I think we're done on the joke. The rally was absolutely amazing. Trump, I never tell anybody who to vote for. I can just tell you that if you vote for Kamala Harris, you're an idiot. And I had a very, very confidential exchange with someone. I said, I'll never disclose anything, period. I just know the person is a very, very smart person who I also know is a longtime Democrat, and we actually still get along. And I just said, I'm not asking you who you're voting for. I don't want to know. It's none of my business. I just want to know, how do you feel about the candidates? And the answer was, obviously, well, I don't like Trump, but it's terrible. Like, this is the best we can do, was the type of answer, which I found to be very, very encouraging in terms of where this is going. A freaking landslide too big to rig, beat the cheat, and make it crushing. A crushing, humiliating defeat. Donald Trump is the unifier, but let's go with the angle. Kamala Harris is the most unifying presidential candidate ever because she unified everyone around Donald Trump. RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and a slew of others. It's a thing of beauty to watch in real time. I want to actually, this is before we get to the I'm saving this one later for two. Okay, I don't know if they picked that starting photo on purpose, but we'll get to this in a second. Oh, hold on one second. I'm bringing up Biltong. I didn't see Biltong's in the house. King of Biltong. Did I hold on? Yes, okay, I can see Biltong is in the house. And now it's food, people, and it's delicious food. Biltong with a $30 Rumble Rant. Add some Biltong to your diet as a high-protein snack alternative packed with B12, zinc, iron, creatine, and more. Get yourself some Biltong. USA.com. Viva 10 for 10% off. We also do dried fruit. While we're in the chat here, let's see what's going on. They're all Nazis. It's amazing. But I know you say, like, it's not. I think that they're actually trying to get some unhinged lunatic to do something stupid. When you see them doing things like this, you know, they're up to something very, very nefarious. This is from Jack Posobiec. MSNBC splices MAGA rally with clips of Nazis. DNC projects graphic on MSG comparing Trump to Hitler. And Poso put this out this morning. I tell you, I've never. It's going to sound. Some people could make fun of it, and I can understand why. I've never believed in a God. I've never believed in God more than I have since July 13. And then I understand that some people say, how can anybody refer to what we saw that day as divine intervention? 2 Americans grievously wounded, Corey Comparatori murdered, and. You know, I don't go to the Bible to find answers. I'm just, you know, I know that there's something that it says about this, because if you don't accept the Bible, or if you don't believe the Bible is a true recounting of a story of God, at the very least, you can understand that it's, as a matter of historical record, it's stories of humanity, iterated over thousands of years and condensed into one book. And that, as far as humans go, we're not much different now than we were 5,000 years ago. There was evil back then, and there was good back then. And people had the same types of problems back then that they have today. And they, back then and over the course of thousands of years, aggregated stories of how to deal with adversity and put it into a book, which, if you want to think of it as nothing more than the most historically relevant self-help guide, that's a way to look at it. But so how can one look at the events of July 13 and say it was divine intervention, an act of God revealing himself, if Corey Comparatori got murdered? And that is a question that I don't know how the family will ever get over, and will ever not contextualize, but will ever have an answer for. The only answer I can come up with is that, in as much as you cannot minimize and you cannot avoid evil people from doing evil, you can protect yourself, you can learn warning signs, and you can do your best to avoid evil at all costs. And it's probably a life lesson that'll pay dividends in terms of not becoming evil and doing evil, and just keeping evil forces out of your life. So you can't minimize the consequences of all evil. It's just not possible. The world in which we'd be living right now, had Donald Trump whatever caused him to move his head, had it not caused him to move his head, we would be in a world of despair right now. And I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. It would have led to World War III. It would have led it to violent civil conflict, because it would have been JFK HD it would be seen by the world, and there would be no taking that down, and it would be demoralizing, enraging. It would have been something from which the world would never have come back. I firmly believe it. So in as much as you cannot prevent evil from doing evil, and you can't minimize the consequences of evil, we averted what would have otherwise been a globally altering disaster. And for that, I think nobody can deny, nobody can really think that if you don't want to call it divine intervention, an act of God, what we witnessed that day was a turn of events that actually turned the order of the universe from what would have been one of violence and destruction to what appears to be one of unification and bringing back decency. So that is, I forget what set me off. No, I do remember what set me off on that, is that I wanted to show this because Jack Posobiec tweeted this and says, for 5 minutes, the crowd screamed. I will never forget these 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, the crowd screamed for the officers to do something, but there was no response. Why? Jack just put out his book, Bulletproof. Look at this. This is, from what I understand, side by side. For 5 minutes, they knew something nefarious was going down. They never radioed in to get Trump off the stage. I'm not going to watch. We're not going to watch.
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there. See him? He's like...
And when I'm talking about the forces of evil and what we would have witnessed had Crooks or whoever you believe fired the shot killed Trump, the forces that let this happen wanted that to happen. And it's like, I'm into intent. I'm into things that I cannot prove. But the layer upon layer of mistakes, incompetence, and like Jack explained in his book, they ran it through AI, for all of this sequence of events to have occurred with each and every one of these errors, one after the other, in that sequence for it to have occurred would have been 1 in 12 trillion, whatever they want to call it. It wasn't an accident. It was a let it happen on purpose, or a made it happen on purpose, specifically because the people that wanted this to happen, and but for the grace of God, it would have happened. They wanted the death and destruction and chaos that would have ensued had that bullet, had Trump not turned his head. Look at this. Well, I'll skim through it.
Yeah, he's laying down.
Here's an idea. Radio in and get him off the stage. No, just a little Westmount boy from Canada stating the obvious. A child would know what to do.
What's happening?
Okay, now we'll skip.
Amount of illegal immigration. Chart. I don't know if they can do.
We have
we have people that should not be here.
On the roof.
It's much tougher than if
Look at this.
You went on the roof, big guy.
In recorded history, we had the best border. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they can do. Do you guys have access to that chart that I love so much? You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? Because these teleprompters are so damn boring. I try and explain that. Oh, there's it. Wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services.
Sorry,
Comes
I
out of
have to watch this.
Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to see something,
I hope he's turning this way. Be careful, guys.
We'll stop it there. Okay. All right. Okay, sorry, that actually it's amazing. Roostang says, Viva, why not pursue a stab at stand-up comedy yourself? Popular Sick Puppies Comedy Club at 7200 at Camino Road in Boca would be a good place to try your hand at it. Please upload the video of your first stage appearance. I'm actually not far from another place called Black Box. I think it's called the Black Box. I went there to see Andrew Dice Clay. Cuz, Viva, go look up the 1924 DNC convention at MSG. They call the clan bake. All right, I'll screen grab that and see what that is afterwards. And a couple more here. Let's do this. Red Team 33 says, I can answer why God saved Trump and not the other victims. God doesn't owe any of us anything. If I drop dead today, I have no reason to be angry with God. I'm not entitled to life. Every day I live is a gift from God, and I'm grateful for it. This is true. But it is tough to say it was a divine intervention act of God when their family's not saying that. I imagine not. They had a hero of a father, and you cannot do everything. You can't protect yourself from all the consequences of evil doers out there. Okay. Let me go over to CommieTube for a second. I think I just saw a super chat there. Mark Goodetti, please stop torturing us with AOC's voice. So that was a while ago. Oh my goodness. Someone said she was using a filter in that, but I wouldn't accuse her of that. It's just her face, her complexion did look very nice and smooth. I say that only because mine looks a little ratty and tattery. People, we're not yet done. I wanted to pull up one last thing before we go over to Viva Barnes Law. .locals.com for the after party. But first we're going to play this because Kamala Harris went full accent. Like, she went so hard into the accent. About 10 seconds into this, she had to dial back on the accent. Listen to this.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may
there you
seem
go, right
heavy,
there.
but joy cometh in the morning.
I can't stand this woman. I can't stand this flipping phony. Listen, it's at 13 seconds. She realizes I went a little too hard in the paint with that accent. I better dial it back.
Weeping may endure for a night,
Go for that. But joy
cometh in the morning.
Right.
The path may seem hard, the work
Right now.
may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning.
She looks
And
joyful.
church morning is on its way.
Yep. Your husband impregnated a nanny. I feel like on a Euro trip, like the guy's like, you kissed your sister. Like, I mean, yeah. Okay, go up in front of a church, you bunch of infidels, you bunch of adulterers, you bunch of scoundrels, immoral scoundrels. Get up in front of a church and lecture. Joy. The party of joy, people. We're going to end with a fact check of Daniel Dale. I've invited him on the channel. He'll never accept it because I've called him names like, I said, don't be a pussy, come on the channel. I've called him a scoundrel. I've called him a lying scumbag, I'm sure, because he is. Like, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was going easy on Dan for a while. Dan Dale goes out and fact checks Joe Rogan's appearance on, not Joe Rogan's appearance, Donald Trump's appearance on Joe Rogan. Oh, Viva's going senile. He's mixing up names. 32 false claims Trump made to Joe Rogan. Now, I out of morbid curiosity, I had to go. I stopped after 3 because Daniel Dale, CNN fact checker, is an idiot. He is a lying idiot. Immigration. Listen to this. Trump repeated his frequent false claim that we had, quote, 13,099 murderers dropped in our country over the last 3 years. What's the fact check? In reality, as the Department of Homeland Security and independent experts have noted, that official figure is about immigrants and homicide convictions in the U.S. today who entered the country over decades. Oh, okay, fine. So it's not illegal immigrants over the last 3 years only. It's over the last decades. How exactly are you measuring the number of convicted murderers who have come over in the last 3 years if you don't even know how many people have come over? You don't even know who the convicted murderers are. So Trump is so wrong. It's such a lie. It's not 13,000 over the last 3 years. It's 13,000 over the last plus years. And that's assuming that you can even believe the stats coming from DHS, which I don't. as far as I can throw them. So yeah, it's fact check false. It was over a broader period of time that there are over 13,000 convicted murderers who have illegally entered America. Trump, you idiot. How dare you? The border wall. He said he built 570 miles. That's a significant exaggeration. It shows he only built 458 miles. Dan, here, Harris border wall. Trump repeated a regular false claim about Harris. She was in charge of the border. She was not and is not. Homeland Security. She was appointed the border czar, you dumbass. Axios reported on it in 2021. This is when you realize that he's not fact-checking. He's a liar. Trump claimed that at least 21 million people have illegally crossed the border during the Biden administration. The country recorded 11 million, under 11 million. What Trump has said repeatedly is that that's what he believes the number to be, because I don't think anybody believes the number is only 11 million, but let's even go with 11 million. Oh, then we get into it's just what this is arguments that they rebut or retort to as liars and then say it's a fact check false. Trump repeated that he won the 2020 election. I won the second election so easy. He lost fair and square to Biden. Oh, I'm sorry, really. So this is where you stop. Daniel Dale, I would love to have a conversation with you because it would be funny. I mean, I'll call you a jackass when you're on live with me, if you ever come on. I'd love to ask you. Oh, okay. Fair and square. Was the Hunter Biden story suppressed through dishonest means by intelligence officials and unlawful suppression on social media? Oh, okay. Well, then it wasn't fair and square, dumbass. You're wrong. I'm not even going into the rest. So the fact checkers are a bunch of liars. We already knew that, but let's just put Daniel Dale on a wee bit of blast this morning. Hey, shall we? All right, people, come on over to vivabarneslaw.locals.com for the after party. I've been playing a lot of Nintendo with my kid now. Super Mario 3. It's the best game ever made on the regular NES. I got some more that we're going to watch over on vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Let me make sure that I haven't forgotten anything. Down in the locals chat here, Daniel Dale is simply enforcing the narrative, not fact-checking, says, Lâche vrai noir. Sad wings raging in the house. They are including the parts of the wall that he upgraded from regular barbed wire fences. Vag sphere, or maybe that's veg sphere. When you wake up, thank him for the new day, and life of gratitude is full of success. I like it. I got, where is it here? When I took my kid to California for the Michael Knowles book reading, I got 1 Minute with God, and I haven't actually read it since I got back. So I'll read the daily things and see what's going on there. Kamala was in charge of finding out why so many illegals are jumping the border. She wasn't in charge of building the border, obviously. Wow. All right. Righteous indignation saves nations of godly inspired anti-Marxists, says River One. All right, peeps. Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to give you all the link to the vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I'm not give myself a... Oh, why can't I... what's going on here? Pourquoi est-ce que ça prend si longtemps pour accéder à mon vivabarneslaw.locals.com? Tonight, I'm on with Dr. Drew. I'll send everybody the link. How can I... I'm not able to get into our Viva Barnes. What the heck is going on in here? Ben, qu'est-ce qui se passe ici? I want to give everybody the link. Neurodivergent, if you're... well, no, but I have to be able to get into the chat. Why did I have to get on my phone. Hold on. Where's my phone? It's right here. Okay, I might have to get in on... I can't share the link. vivabarneslaw.locals.com, people. Oh, I think I'm in. Okay, here we go. Jokes make Democrats cry. Link here, and I'll share it over on CommieTube. Link. Come on over to vivabarneslaw.locals.com for our after party. It'll be supporters only. Neurodivergence had posted. Thank you very much. And we shall end the show. I shall see you this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow, this week. Godspeed. God bless people coming over to Locals in 30 seconds.